Almost 10 out of 10 entrepreneurs in Norway choose a sole proprietorship or a limited company when starting their own business. I am Paal Stavrum. I'm a writer and a course creator, and I teach small businesses in Norway about rules, possibilities, and traps. So, what about creating a company in Norway? Let's have a look at your options. Let's, for short, call a sole proprietorship ENK, similar to the English abbreviation SP, and a private limited liability company AS, almost identical to an LLC. A few factors indicate that Norway should be an attractive country for your business. Norway was named the second best country in the world in the latest United Nations Human Development Index, published in September. Norway is one of the easiest countries to do business in if we rely on what the World Bank Doing Business project claims. And according to Traveling Lifestyle, Norway is number 6 on the list of healthy countries worldwide for digital nomads. We'll dive into the differences between an ENK and an AS in a minute, but be aware of this vital point. If you want a Norwegian organization number for a company you own in your home country, you must register a Norwegian registered foreign business called NUF. You will have to do all the company registrations through the Brønnøysund Register Center. Foreign nationals seeking to start and operate a business in Norway will need a Norwegian D number, which is a personal ID number. You get a D number through the Brønnøysund register, which can be acquired when registering the company. You can do the whole process of registering a company in Norway online. So, should you choose an ENK or an AS when starting a business in Norway? More people choose an AS now after the demand for a share capital was reduced from 100,000 to 30,000 Norwegian kroner, and the duty of revision was suspended for the smallest companies. There have been other simplifications in the law of shares, for example when it comes to the board's demand, leadership, and execution of annual general meetings. According to the new rules, you only need one board member and don't need to hire a managing director, not even yourself. The board member must be a Norway resident or a citizen of and a residential in an EU/EEA country. An AS with an annual turnover of less than 6 million Norwegian kroner is no longer required to have an auditor. The rules changed a few years ago. Annual accounts for the company must be prepared and approved by the ordinary general meeting within 6 months following the end of the business year. The approved annual accounts must be filed with the Norwegian Register of Company Accounts. An ENK is a simple, unbureaucratic, and flexible way to run a business. An AS is a little more formal kind of company because it has its own law, the law of shares, among other things. However, the main reason to choose one or the other is the degree of risk. If your ENK goes bankrupt, your private finances also get a burn. In addition, possible creditors can come for your private home and other private properties to cover their demands. For this reason, if you have a business without significant investments and personal risks, an ENK is a good option. If you are faced with high investments, taking risks, and have plans to grow, you should consider an AS. But where are the main differences? Here are some of the most important. First, an AS can have one or more owners or shareholders. As a shareholder, you are initially only responsible for what you have deposited as a share capital. The minimum requirement for share capital is 30,000 Norwegian kroner, or about 3,000 euros. You can use the 30,000 Norwegian kroner when covering the expenses of establishing the AS. If the costs are limited to the fee of registering in Brønnøysund register, this means that you have about 24,000 Norwegian kroner left in actual share capital. Be aware of that the Norwegian law of shares demands that the company's equity and liquidity are reasonable. Running an ENK, you are responsible for ensuring that your ENK pays debts and commitments. There is no requirement for capital deposit in an ENK. Now, what about taxes and fees? Running an ENK, you are to pay the taxes in advance 4 times a year, in the middle of March, May, September and December. The advance taxes may be harsh on the liquidity or the money you have at your disposal. The taxes in an ENK are roughly calculated like this: 22% tax on the surplus and 11.2% social security fee on calculated personal income. In addition, you will have to pay taxes on different levels of personal income. Higher income demands higher taxes. This is called trinnskatt in Norwegian, a kind of step tax. As an employee in your own limited company, or AS, you pay taxes on your income following the same rules as any other employee. Personal income is only calculated from salary. The AS itself is taxed with 22% of the surplus. These taxes are also paid in 4 annual terms, but the year after the earnings. Your AS also has to pay the employer's national insurance contributions on 14.1% standard rate for each Norwegian krone you pay in salary. It must make sure to take care of advance taxes too. You have to put this money into account reserved for tax deductions. Now, the deductions. You generally have the same deduction possibilities in an ENK as in an AS. All fees tied to the business can mainly be used as accounting documents and give deductions in the accounting. However, there are some areas where the difference becomes clear. As an employee in your own AS, you have the right to the minimum standard deduction in salary income, just like other employees. You don't have this possibility in an ENK. Several people have suggested a kind of business deduction or basic deduction also for ENKs, but this is, for now, far from being realized. Another area where the difference is evident is when it comes to traveling. As an employee in your AS, you can use the government's rates for diet and lodging. That means you can spend the night at your relatives when you travel and get the standard deduction for undocumented housing. You cannot do that in a sole proprietorship, where you will need receipts for everything. There is no set answer to what you should choose, an ENK or an AS. An ENK is the easiest to register, but an AS gives you a few more possibilities and little less responsibility. And if you already have a limited company in your own country, you can register an NUF in Norway. NUF stands for Norsk Registrert Utenlandsk Foretak, or Norwegian Registered Foreign Business in English. Finally, I want to emphasize that you should check the taxation and social security regulations agreements between your country and Norway. You don't necessarily have to start a company in Norway to be able to work here, but you should be aware of the rules and your rights if you travel and work in Norway without creating a company here. I, for instance, have applied to the authorities in Norway and can work a little in different European countries without losing my social security rights in Norway. Curious about starting an ENK or an AS? You'll find some practical guides on miniforetak.no. Good luck, whatever you choose to do, and welcome to Norway.